Love grows where my rosemary goes. Gotta get that right. Tony Macaulay and Barry Mason wrote that, and that was Tony Burrow's voice. It was just him and a bunch of session musicians, really, who then got called Edison Lighthouse and got to number 1. See what happens to our album of the week. It's Louis Tomlinson, and Faith in the Future is the title. You'll hear a track from that later on, choosing 2 more of the tracks of his years. That fabulous actor, Don Warrington, he'll be here later, and there'll be Popmaster on Radio 2, BBC Sounds app, smart speaker, and 88 to 91 FM.
BBC News at 10 o'clock. This is Catherine Cracknell. People returning to work this week after the Christmas break are being urged to avoid travelling by train at the start of a fresh wave of strike action. 2 unions are staging walkouts, with the RMT beginning its first 48-hour strike today. Network Rail says only around a fifth of services are expected to run, and some areas will have no trains at all. Tim Shoveller's the chief negotiator for Network Rail, which runs and maintains the track. He says he's optimistic a settlement can be reached.
We know which areas have been misunderstood by some of our staff, their members, and we want to make sure that we can work with the RMT now to make clarifications where there have been misunderstanding and put the deal out again. We only need 2,000 people who voted no last time to change their vote, and the deal will pass. So we think that's within touching distance.
Our business correspondent, Theo Leggett, who's at Euston Station in central London, says there's no sign of any breakthrough in the dispute between the government and the RMT.
All of this week, really, we're seeing intense disruption. The rail companies themselves are saying, don't travel unless you absolutely have to. And as for the dispute at the core of this, they may be talking about getting around a table next week, but we've heard that before. At the moment, the dispute, which is about pay and working conditions, working practices, seems as immutable as ever. There is no sign of a solution.
Chinese citizens who test positive for coronavirus on arrival in the UK are not going to be required to isolate. The Transport Secretary, Mark Harper, said test results would be collected for surveillance purposes only. A number of countries have introduced restrictions on travellers from China because of a surge in infections. The family of a British couple who died in a helicopter crash in Australia has said they're heartbroken. Diane and Ron Hughes, who were 57 and 65 and from Merseyside, were among 4 people killed in the collision on the Gold Coast. A shortage of specialist pathologists means grieving parents are having to wait longer for a completed post-mortem report on the deaths of their children. One expert has described the situation as critical. Our reporter Adrian Goldberg has more.
Some parents have had to wait more than a year to discover how their child died. This is especially upsetting in cases where parents have been placed under suspicion of involvement in their child's death and have been forcibly separated from their surviving children until cleared by the post-mortem findings. The Department of Health and Social Care in England says it's working with partners to recruit more people into the system.
And Fred White, the drummer for Earth, Wind and Fire, has died, aged 67. He began drumming at the age of 9 and went on to win 6 Grammy Awards with the funk band, which was founded by his elder brother, Maurice White. They sold more than 90 million records worldwide, with hits including Boogie Wonderland and September. And that's the BBC News at 3 minutes past 10.
Live on the BBC Sounds app.